This episode on
Artists Get Game. Hello, friends, and welcome to Artists Get Game, a Brazen Jester Studios production. We are very fortunate today to be filming on the unceded ancestral lands of the Lheidli people, on whose lands we live, work, play, and create here in Prince George, British Columbia. My name is Sharon, and I'm your host for the day. Today, we are going to be playing Bridgerton Love Letters with author Carly Butler. Carly, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Well, this may be the most spontaneous thing I've ever done, and I'm really excited. I moved up to Smithers, British Columbia when I was about 10. I was born in the United States, and then I spent another 12 to 14 years in Smithers before moving to Prince George for a couple of years, and now I live near Vancouver, British Columbia. And I am back in Prince George again because I just became a published author in March of 2024, and this is my very first stop on my Northern BC book tour. And so I'm doing an event in a couple of hours, and I got invited to stop by and learn how to play this game and talk to these lovely people here.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're so happy to have you, Carly. Being an author is a very unique art form, and it's so exciting to be a published author. I know how difficult the whole publishing industry can be.
Yes.
With all of your experiences living in Northern BC, spending most of your life in Northern BC, how do you find the Northern BC area inspires your writing or creative flow?
I mean, even just since driving up yesterday, it was very easy for me to just get back into that slowing down because I'm so used to the hustle and bustle of Vancouver area, and I'm with my kids, and so it's just I'm always doing something. Like this morning I slept in for the first time in a long time, and I'm just driving, and there's just a different energy and a different flow here, and I think it just feels a lot easier to just take a deep breath and relax, and that I think opens my mind and my heart up to really just taking in everything around me, and that inspires I think I can kind of turn the writing switch on anywhere, but I think being in environments like this sort of make it a little bit more natural and organic, and I can just find like more like just being out on a walk by the river today and hearing the wind and the trees and everything. It just feels like I just wanted to have I felt like I'm not a poet, but I wanted to write a poem about being there and to help me remember this experience, and instead of just taking pictures. And so I just love being, I always call it home up here, and I'm really excited to just celebrate this journey with people that I have called my family and my friends for a really long time, and I'm probably going to write a lot more about it when I go home and be inspired that way.
Yeah. So let's get started with the game.
All right.
So there's your first card and my first card, and you can go first.
I learned the rules 5 minutes ago.
Yes, she did, and she did very well.
You're probably going to win, just saying.
I don't know. Sometimes the cards are not kind to me. So you get to draw another card for your turn.
All right. Ba-doo. I play Eloise Bridgerton.
Okay, what number are you going to guess that I have between 1 and 9?
This is one of my lucky numbers. So I will say 7.
No, I do not have a 7.
Let down by my lucky number.
Okay. I am going to also play Eloise Bridgerton. And I'm going to guess the number 4.
No.
Ugh! I'm so bad at guessing the numbers. I didn't get it once, the single time. The
There's
last
so
game I
many
played.
options.
I know, and yet. Okay, it's your turn.
All right. Oh. Well, how about I just give a little Kate Sharma.
Okay, so you want to peek at my hand? I have the Kate Sharma that she just played, which is really funny. Okay. Well, I don't want to play that one now. I'm going to play Kate Sharma as well. Can I please look at your hand? Oh, no. Okay. So as we're going forward, I just wanted to know sadly, I haven't had the pleasure of reading your book tonight. I may have to
downstairs.
Grab a copy on our way out when we finish filming today. I understand your book is a memoir. What inspired you to write a memoir as you are obviously so very young still?
Yes. Well, I am turning 37 this year, and I did not know that I would have so much to write about in a almost half of a life, God willing. But I have always wanted to write stories, and since I was a kid, and really the more people that I met throughout my life and they learned about what I'd experienced, I always heard, oh, you should write a book. That would be really interesting. And so that was always on the back burner of my mind. And I had a blog for a while, and I was sort of sampling out various stories to see how people would respond. And it was kind of always the same, like encouraging me to write more and wanting to know more. And so, but you know, life happens, kids happen, and it wasn't until about 2020 when the world kind of ended for everybody. And so one of my kids is very medically complex, and so we had to quarantine at home, very, very tiny little bubble. And we didn't know how long we would need to be living in this sort of situation. And so a friend of mine, she gave me a laptop and told me to start writing. And honestly, if it weren't for her, I'd probably still be writing my book on my phone, like painstakingly. Pardon me. So shout out to Renee. And yeah, so I guess I just really thought, okay, I now have the time, and now I have the tool that I need. And it felt kind of like now or never, because a lot of my story had relatable themes to what we were all going through in the pandemic. And I thought it might be a really good time to tell that story and try and find some hope in it. And also, I thought, you know, worst case scenario and the world is over and we're all gone. I kind of wanted to tell my story before I died. So not to be morbid or anything, but it was a desperation.
A lot of people felt that. A lot of people felt that during COVID, and the lack of connection with people, and sharing our stories is one of the best ways sometimes to find that connection. So what a very healthy outlet you found.
It was cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. Okay, I think it's your turn.
Oh.
So don't forget to draw a card first.
Oh.
I have to keep remembering while we're talking that we have to play the game
Yes.
too.
Yes.
I often forget that part.
Yes. Well, I actually prefer this to like the eating hot wings format. Like,
not gonna lie, we did do something very similar to that in a previous production that we did. We actually it was quite lovely. We sampled hot sauces from all over beautiful British Columbia, and we dipped bannock that was locally sourced.
Amazing.
While tasting these beautiful hot sauces. We didn't go too spicy because I was the host and I had to do 4 episodes a day.
You had to be able to
and
speak.
that was a little bit much. But we were interviewing professors from up at the university. So it was
cool.
a lot of fun, much like this is just a fun thing to get us out of ourselves while we're chatting.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's see if I can get a Duke of Hastings.
Okay, so now we have to compare our hands, and whoever has the lowest number is out.
Okay.
Okay, what have you got?
Oh! I am out.
So I will take the first diamond of the game.
Ooh, shiny.
And then we get to try again.
Do I put this down then?
We will collect all of those and redeal.
Alrighty.
So you say you have always wanted to tell stories. And can you tell me a little bit more about that, about storytelling and what that means to you?
Yeah, well, I think I was in an official elementary school up until grade 3. And my favorite class was the creative writing. And I actually found one of my very first little books that I made, and it was like a robbery mystery. I was really into Nancy Drew and those kinds of stories. So I made my own book, and it was sort of wrapped in wallpaper as a cover, and I did the illustrations as well. I think the writing was better than the illustrations. And so, yeah, I think I've just always loved even just the physical act of writing, the fact that we can create something in this language, right? And so even if you can't say anything or you can't hear anything, you can still see it and communicate that way. And I think as I was reading so much as a kid, it just made me realize how many possibilities there are in the world, and it inspired me. And I kind of thought that, if I ended up being a writer, it wouldn't be memoir. I would just be making up my own stories. And then my own life ended up being kind of stranger than fiction. And I thought, you know what better way to start than by untangling my own story first. And yeah, so it's been a long time coming.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes telling our own stories can be scarier than making up stories.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm gonna be interested to see who shows up at my events, people that I've known from the past, and see how they responded to the book. And I changed all the names of all the people, of course, but I'm hoping it'll be a mostly positive reception to being sort of not personalized, but just maybe being part of the story and knowing me. I've had some people tell me it's so weird knowing you in person and reading your book at the same time. Like I know an author. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I'm like, I'm still just me, I promise.
I just wrote some words about my experience, but I'm still just me.
And if I start acting like not me, please call me out on that. Don't let me become a fancy person that doesn't talk to people anymore.
Yeah.
Although I do admit that to come and play this game and talk with you, I did have to push off some dinner plans that I had.
No. I'm so sorry.
With other friends. I was like, am I a bad friend for already changing my dinner plans to go do a podcast interview? And they're like, no, go do it.
Oh, okay. Well, to whomever you are who canceled, your dinner plans got canceled, thank you so much for sharing Carly with us today, because I'm having a blast.
Yes.
So
they'll be at the event later. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully I can pop down and say hi.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go first this time. And I'm going to play the Colin Bridgerton right away, which means that I am invincible for one round.
Oh my goodness.
And then it is your turn.
Okay.
Sometimes it's hard to choose.
It is. Well, are you still invincible if I do that?
That does nothing to me, but that says that if I don't play a Daphne Bridgerton, then at the end of this round, no matter what, you get a diamond. Yes.
I thought I remembered that rule
Yep,
correctly.
that was a good one. Okay, so I'm going to play a Colin Bridgerton, which lets me draw 2 cards.
Oh.
And then I have to discard 2 cards from my hand to the bottom of the deck. Okay. There we go. And then it is your turn again.
Alrighty. How about Eloise?
Okay, and then you need to guess a number.
3.
Nope. Not a 3.
Oh, you almost had me.
Almost. Okay. Uh-oh, you're not going to like this. I got a Daphne.
No.
There's no extra diamonds this round. So, as an author, people are usually or often inspired by other writers. What other writers' works have inspired you?
Well, to be honest, I haven't been able to do a ton of reading in the last few years, even though I've wanted to. But I do tend to find authors online and just follow them and, try to read whatever snippets of things that they share and be like, okay, yes, I'm going to buy that book one day eventually. And yeah, I think I, for a while, have been really inspired by Glennon Doyle. Because she's written a number of books, but her most recent one was called Untamed, and it was just about her literally just rewilding herself and breaking out of the box that modern day womanhood had kind of put her in, and including discovering that she was actually gay and didn't know that until she met the right person, and so I was inspired by that story. I'm really inspired by Caitlin Curtis. She's a Native American author in the States, and she came from a similar church background that I grew up in, and so she has a really poetic way of untangling all of those sort of stories and narratives that we grew up believing that our native cultures were bad and everything like that, and that we needed to assimilate into the rest of the culture there, and just so a lot of reclaiming and reconnecting and still being a spiritual a connection there, and so she's written a book called Native, and she's written a couple of children's books that I think is really cool to that I want to get to read to my own kids and raise the next generation and knowing those stories and those values. And then I think the last author I've been really inspired by lately, her name is Cole Arthur Riley, and she's a Black woman that lives in the States as well, and she has a lot of deep spiritual poems and prose, and she also has just a really good way of talking about disability and people that are maybe neurodivergent or experiencing things in their body that they don't have control over. And so I relate to that. It helps me parent my own children better. And yeah, I think those are the top 3 that come to mind. And But yeah, I think those authors, they inspire me, but I have such little blocks of time where I can read that sometimes the subject matter is like really heavy to, just read like a 5-minute chapter of or something. And so I have to be in the right headspace and have the right time and energy. But yeah, I just really appreciate them a lot and hope that I'm somewhere near as inspiring to somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it is your turn.
Alrighty. Okay. Lady Danbury.
Okay, and are you going to discard your hand or have me discard my hand?
I think you should discard your hand.
Okay. Okay, and then it is my turn. So I discarded Kate Sharma. Okay. I am going to play Eloise Bridgerton, and I'm going to pick number 7.
No.
I should have known. The number 7 is right there in front of me, and there's only one of them.
Oh, that's
I
good
apparently
to
need to pay attention to the game that I'm playing. Okay, it's your turn.
Alrighty. Oh, okay. Eloise.
Okay.
2.
Nope, it was not a 2. Okay, I am going to play the Duke of Hastings. So we need to compare our cards, and whoever has the lowest value is out. But I have Penelope Bridgerton, or Penelope Featherington, sorry.
I'm doubly out then, I
I'm
feel
sorry.
like.
Oh, and unfortunately, because I played Daphne, you also don't get an extra diamond. Okay, so that's 2 rounds down. You got 4 more diamonds to go.
Well, hopefully I'm better at doing a book launch than I am at playing this game.
That's okay. This game can turn around very quickly. I've seen it happen. I do not always win, I promise. I definitely do not always win the games that I play on this podcast. And sometimes I really don't win. Okay. One for you and one for me. And it's your turn to go first.
Well, I don't really have much of a choice.
So you do get to draw a card.
Oh, yes, that's right. Ha! Thank you.
Give a little choice.
Okay. Again, I don't really have much of a choice. Daphne.
Another Daphne. Look at that. You're going for the diamonds. I can tell.
Gotta catch up here.
Okay, I'm going to play Lady Featherington, who does nothing. Really does nothing. Yep, your turn.
Alrighty. Ew. How about Lady Bridgerton?
Oh, and what does that say? We have to swap hands?
Choose and trade hands.
Okay.
With another player.
There you go. Enjoy. I'm going to play Eloise Bridgerton because I know that she has Penelope Featherington in her hand. And I picked the number 9.
Well, what do you know?
Look at that. You get a diamond. You still get a diamond.
Just because of Penelope.
Well, no, you get a diamond because of Daphne.
Daphne. Oh, my gosh.
There you go.
I need to catch up on Bridgerton, clearly. Oh, my gosh.
This is a fun game. There are many different versions of this game. This just happens to be the Bridgerton version. I have also played just plain love letters, which is just based on knights and kings and princesses, and the courtiers trying to get the love letter into the hand of a princess. And I believe I've also played Batman love letters, but I know there's so many different types of this game. This just happens to be the one that I found before taping.
Well, it's more interesting, I think.
I thought it was very apropos for the times.
Yes.
Okay. my turn to go first, I think. Okay. So if you were to write a work of fiction, because you've mentioned that you like making up stories and were surprised that your first book was a memoir, would your characters, would it be sort of like a popular fiction about people in today's time, or what sort of era do you think would inspire you?
Oh, man. That's a really good question. I mean, it's kind of very popular right now, but I do enjoy like dystopian, post-apocalyptic scenarios because I think exploring how each character responds to the world ending and trying to rebuild something is really fascinating to me. I also really like, I mean, I'd have to do a ton of research for anything that I wrote. But I also really like the 1800s and exploring this time like before technology really advanced, and you know, what were people reading and being entertained by, and what were they eating, and like just that whole, I don't know, I think it would be interesting to kind of do like an ancestral sort of like, maybe there's a modern day character learning about their ancestors that lived in a different time, and sort of go back and forth and create a whole like narrative around that.
That could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Especially when you're thinking about how in our global world, our ancestors are so diverse now. It's not sort of the same, I guess, I don't know. I grew up in Canada, and I'm used to being surrounded in BC by so many different cultures. And my ancestors came from all different places in the world, which resulted in me. And I find that fascinating. The idea of exploring what their life may have been like.
Me
and
too.
knowing that our ancestors came from so many different places, all the different opportunities in that story. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, and knowing that one day I'll be an ancestor.
Yeah.
And what am I thinking about and hoping for the future of my family, you know, and just sort of using that as a parallel between the past and the future. Yeah, that just kind of came to me right now.
Oh, there you go.
Moment. So
bringing inspiration through a podcast. You're welcome. That sounds like a really exciting idea. I know I did sort of put you on the spot there, but
that's okay.
Okay.
We came up with something really cool.
Okay. So I would like to look at your hand, please. Oh, you don't have to. You can just show me. Because you get to keep your hand. You don't have to play it yet. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now it's your turn.
Oh. Okay. Well.
What number are you going to pick?
3?
Nope.
Man, 0 for 0.
I know. Eloise is a hard card. I am also going to play Eloise Bridgerton. And I'm going to pick 4.
Sorry.
Not a 4. I'm so bad at choosing cards. I had one game that I got it every single time, and it was really funny.
When my daughter plays Monopoly, she has a rule that if you roll a 6, you get to roll again. One time she rolled like 5 6s in a row, and she was just going around the board.
Oh.
It's like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. How about Lady Bridgerton?
Okay, so we're going to trade hands. Thank you. I am going to play Anthony Bridgerton, which gets me to draw 2 cards. And then I keep 1. Okay.
I don't think I've gotten one of those cards yet. That's a tricky one.
It is. And then it is your turn.
Okay.
Sorry, I just hit the mic.
Daphne.
Oh, the first Daphne's been played again. Okay. I'm going to play Eloise. And I'm going to pick number 3.
Because you gave it to me.
Because I gave it to you. So you've got the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So then that means that I win this round. But you get a diamond again because you had a Daphne.
Woohoo!
The diamond strikes again.
Oh man, you're getting close.
2 more diamonds. Or 4 diamonds. Because we are 4-2. And 6 diamonds wins the game. Okay. Ooh, we're going to be short a few Eloises this game. Okay, and is it, I think it's your turn to start.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Oh?
So you had mentioned in talking before, you had mentioned that your children have some medical complex issues. And how do you find writing helps you manage that? Or do you find that your writing helps you? Because I know that when we have children who have difficulties, it can be very stressful and obviously takes a lot of time and energy.
Yeah.
So how do you find writing around that?
Well, yeah, my son, Harrison, has a genetic disorder called Noonan syndrome, and not a lot is known about it, but he's almost 8, and he has a heart condition and some brain tumors, and so he's on a lot of different medications, and he goes to BC Children's Hospital, a few times a year to check on things. I think really writing has helped because I feel like, well, he was my first kid, and so to go straight into motherhood as a medical mom, there were lots of, I guess, expectations I had about motherhood, and none of them happened the way that I thought that they would. And so I think writing has helped me release a lot of those expectations and let them go and make room for what is. And I really I take one day at a time because it truly, I mean, it's, not to be morbid again, but it's kind of like there are times where, like, Noonan syndrome, it takes a child's life unexpectedly any moment. So it's like I feel that every day that I get to have with him is a little extra special. And the and it kind of like a lot of themes in my book are the title being Apocalypse Child, and the themes throughout it being how I thought the world was going to end a certain way with Y2K in the year 2000, and it didn't, but the world has ended for me and for us globally in so many different ways, and how do we rebuild and carry on? And so I feel like parenting him has helped me put that into perspective, that it does feel like the world is ending sometimes when we get a new diagnosis of something, or we take him for a checkup and, maybe he's not doing as well as we hoped. And I also feel like writing has been a very hopeful experience with him because, for example, when he started going to school for the first time ever, there were a lot of moving pieces that needed to be put into place for him to have proper support at school. And I wasn't sure how other kids and their families would respond to him because he's mostly nonverbal and he's a lot smaller than kids his age and he plays differently. Like everything about him is just a little bit unique, and especially being in isolation at home for so long, he hadn't really been around other kids. So what I did is I wrote a letter and I passed it out to every single family in the classroom. And it was just an introductory thing saying that this is Harrison, this is what he was born with, this is what he's dealing with, this is how it's safe to play with him, this is how what he enjoys playing with. It was just an introductory letter. And that, I think, was a huge opening door for him to have success in the classroom because I wanted people to feel like they could ask questions if they wanted to. And I wanted the parents to hopefully take the initiative to teach their children that he's a different kind of kid and, he can't play rough, and you need to be patient with him and he communicates in a different way. And so I thought that that was a really good way to just educate and also normalize.
Yeah.
And I think I might do another letter again this September because he's going into grade 2 and there's going to be some new students. And so I just kind of want to do that again and reintroduce him. And I think, and quite often I'm part of writing letters for campaigns for disability awareness in Canada or BC. Like I'm part of, I've found that words can be really powerful to change people's minds or their hearts. And so I feel like as long as I have that gift and that as long as I have him with me to like be teaching me what he needs, then I'm gonna try and like combine those things together.
That's really, really awesome how you're using your gift to support your child, and that's really beautiful. I really love that.
Thank
I
you.
know I, as a parent, would love to receive a letter like that to help my own children understand the difficulties and the neurodivergence of the people around them. I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Okay, it's your turn.
All right.
So you get to draw a card.
Okay. Colin Bridgerton.
Ah, she's invincible. Okay. Well, since you're invincible, I'm going to draw 2 cards. And only keep one. Okay. Okay, it's your turn.
Eloise.
Okay, what number do I have?
I think you have 3.
You were right. You win the round.
Finally! Oh my goodness.
I have to admit, I played one round of this where I guessed 3 every time, and the other person had 3 like every time except for 1, and it was
that's perfect.
Astounding. So I think 3 is the lucky number. I'm gonna have to start saying 3 every time.
And now I have 3 diamonds.
And now you have 3 diamonds. You're catching up. Told you this game can change really fast. Okay. Okay, now Penelope's up there. There we go. And it's my turn to go first. Okay. I am going to play Kate Sharma and look at your hand. You got it. Okay, thank you. And now it is your turn.
Oh, thank you.
And we have a Daphne in play. So unless I play a Daphne, you get free reign. Okay. Well, this seems unfair, but I'm going to play Eloise Bridgerton, and I'm going to call 3 because I saw that you have a 3.
Oh.
Ah. Okay, but it's okay. You had to play the Daphne because now you get a diamond, even though I won the round.
All
So,
right.
You're still just one behind me. Oh my goodness.
Breathing down your neck.
You are. Okay. So,
Is this our last round?
Maybe, yeah, it could be, unless you take it, and then we'll have to play one more. As an author, an artist, a wordsmith, it can be very difficult to navigate the realms of publishing.
Yes.
So how did you go about finding someone to publish your book?
Oh my goodness. Well, I started in 2020, like I said, and here we are 4 years later, only just got published. The publishing world has changed a lot in the last, I'd say, decade or so. Because of social media, I would think, probably, and marketing and algorithms and all that sort of stuff. So once I got, at least 50 or so pages written, and I was like, this is like enough to start sending out to get people interested, I either didn't hear back from anyone at all, or a very common response that I heard was, you're a great writer, but you don't have enough followers on social media.
Oh.
Yeah. You need at least 10K, right? Or something like that. And so I was like, okay, that's going to be challenging. So then I started panicking a little bit because I have 10% of 10K followers.
Yes.
And so then I start researching, how do I get more followers without buying them?
Yes.
Because I did not want to do that.
No.
And, there were things like, post at certain times of the day when maybe more people will see it, or use these certain hashtags, and like there's all these little tricks and stuff. But the most consistent thing was like, you have to post every day. You have to be in people's faces all the time. And I'm just not, that's not really like naturally my, and so I tried for probably 2 years to get more of a following, and started even sharing little snippets of my writing so that people would be like interested, right? And I kind of stayed, and I maybe got like 100 more followers in that time. I'm like, well, at this rate, I'm going to be published 20 years from now. So I just kept submitting. Anytime I saw anything that was like in Canada, looking for a certain kind of story, I submitted. And it was kind of the same thing, you're a great writer, but, or you're a great writer, but this, like a memoir is not what we're looking for right now. And then actually my friend Kim, who works downstairs in the bookstore, she told me about Caitlin Press, that's on Vancouver Island. They actually started in Prince George in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
And so they've been around for a while, and they're a bit more old school in their methods. And they don't do a whole ton of social media emphasis. And so I did submit to them about 2 years ago, and I never heard back. I was like, okay, I'm used to that by now. And then last July, actually like a year ago, a few days ago, someone at Caitlin Press reached out to me and said, hey, we found your proposal. Apparently it had gotten like lost in a pile. And they had already had their authors for spring 2024 like lined up. But then an author fell through at the last minute. And they said, we love your story. We want to read more. Have you finished it? Because it had been like over a year since I had submitted. And I said, yeah, I'm almost done with it. And they said, well, send us everything that you've got. We want to read more. And we would love to include you in the spring 2024 lineup because we need someone to fill the spot. Kind of like how I filled the spot today.
Yeah.
Last minute. So that's why I found sometimes spontaneity just helps me out. So I was very excited, a little scared, but I said yes. I signed a contract, and then things started happening really fast after that, because usually when you get a book deal, it's at least like a year from beginning to end. And I had 8 months to finish my manuscript, edit, choose all the cover, like make all the decisions, make it ready for March of 2024. And it was a roller coaster. And especially because I don't live on Vancouver Island, so I'm like on the phone or I'm on Zoom with the people I've never met still to this day. And, you know, they had warned me, like, this is going to be a wild ride. And I was like, my whole life has been a wild ride. I'm sure I'll be fine. This was just, they weren't wrong. So, yeah, I have now been published since March. And again, because they don't do a ton of social media marketing, I'm still in that same position of like having to post a lot to like remind people that I'm an author and, you know, like to get my book out there. And so it's been a really interesting process, and I'm learning about, you know, how there's even a whole separate process for audiobooks. And if I want to read my own book, I have to audition for it. And I'm really hoping that I can do that. Yeah, and it's really cool to finally have it be real, and also it doesn't feel real at the same time. Like, I'm still like, I'm in Prince George doing a book launch event for something that I wrote, and people are going to come to that.
Yes, they will.
That's so, I guess I just been dreaming about it for so long that now that it's actually real, it's
feels a little bit surreal.
Yeah.
Out of body experience
exactly.
of it.
Yeah. And so I'm just trying to slow down and take as much in as possible, and really let it, you know, really let it sink in.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud. I mean, there was, you know, in the end, I had a lot more written of the book, and then there was like a word count issue. We had to cut a lot out. And, you know, maybe that'll open the door for a second book in the future. But overall, I'm very, very proud of the end result, and the cover, and the, you know, just the people that have read it already and have messaged me to tell me how meaningful it was to them. Like, I'm already, like, just very grateful for this opportunity. And so... But yeah, it is not for the faint of heart.
No, it definitely doesn't sound like it.
You have to get used to rejection. And then once you actually get accepted, then strap on your seatbelt, because
it's going to be busy.
Yes, very busy.
Okay, well, that sounds like it was a very exciting process.
Yeah.
After a very long hurry up and wait. Yeah.
A lot of planting seeds, watering, and then all of a sudden...
One finally germinated.
It grew overnight.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so it is your turn to start our last round.
Ooh.
Hopefully. Maybe last round. I don't know. We'll see how many diamonds you get.
Okay. Eloise Bridgerton.
Okay, what number do I have?
You have the number 6.
Nope. I do not. But I do have a Kate Sharma, and I would like to look at your hand. Ooh, interesting. Okay, it's your turn. Okay, do you want me to discard my hand, or are you going to discard yours?
I would like you to discard your hand.
Okay, I will discard Daphne. Which means if anybody places down a Daphne, it doesn't get them a diamond, because it has been played or discarded. Okay, and I guess it's my turn now. Okay, I'm going to discard, or to play Lady Featherington, who does nothing. Nothing at all. Okay.
Once again, we reiterate, she does nothing.
She does nothing. I think it's the funniest card.
Ooh, it's my first time
Ooh.
having Anthony Bridgerton.
Ah, you get to draw 2 cards and then pick to keep one of the cards, and the other 2 go to the bottom of the deck.
So I can only keep one.
You get to keep one of the 3. Yeah. It's hard to decide sometimes.
Yes. Bottom of the deck.
Okay. And then it's my turn. I'm going to do Anthony Bridgerton as well. I have the Anthony Bridgerton card. Should be careful how I word things. Okay. I don't want those. I like what I've got. Just fine and dandy. It is your turn.
Eloise. And I think you have 3.
Nope. I do not have a 3. But I would like to look at your hand. Oh dear. Okay. It's your turn.
I choose invincibility.
Oh dear. She played a Colin. Well, I'm going to play Daphne Bridgerton. Not that she does anything for me, because we already had to discard one. Okay, that's your turn.
Getting to the bottom of the deck here. Okay. Lady Bridgerton.
Okay, so you get to trade hands with another player.
Oh, well, I did not think that through.
That's okay.
Alrighty. Oh, well.
Your game just stepped up a bit.
Interesting.
And I have no way to win this round now. Okay. Maybe I do. I'm going to play the Duke of Hastings, which means we have to compare our hands, and whoever has the higher number wins. And I played the Queen, who is numberless, and therefore wins against Penelope Featherington, as she is the only one who can.
So close.
And with that, I take my final diamond and the victory. So I have to say, I think your book launch tour is going to be a great success. I have had a wonderful time chatting and playing with you and learning all about your creative process and your book. I'm actually very excited to read it after having reviewed all of the things written about it online before you came. So thank you so much for being on this episode of Artists Get Game. At this time, I would like to thank my behind the camera crew, Chris Wood, our director, and Oren Wood, our production assistant. Thank you everyone for joining us today on Artists Get Game, and we'll see you next time.
You asked 2 more questions.
2 more questions? Did I not take long enough?
We are 5 minutes away from double episodes.
Oh, 2 more questions. Okay. So he'll edit these in somewhere.
Okay.
So should we just pick up cards and pretend to be playing?
Okay.
Or do you just want me to ask questions? Okay. So interesting questions.
You can always ask her what questions
Yeah, is there something you'd like me to ask, Ashley? Is there something you'd like to talk about?
Well, I think we didn't really talk much about what brought me to Northern BC.
Yes, that would be
in
good.
the first
Okay.
place.
Okay, so how about that? So I can ask that question.
All right.
So you weren't originally from Northern BC. You've actually came from quite a distance. What actually brought you to Northern BC in the first place?
Well, I was born in California in the 80s. And then my mom, who's been a single mom for as long as I've known her, she moved us up to Montana. And we were always really involved in church and music. And my mom loved to buy houses and like fix them up and flip them before like HGTV was a thing. And so we were just constantly on the move, and I didn't love it because I wanted to like create my bedroom and like get attached to it, and but I had a lot of bedrooms growing up. And so then, you know, church involvement, the internet came to people's houses in the mid-90s, and so church combined with that information, my mom started really doing deep dives, researching about like end times prophecy, like when's Jesus coming back, how's the world gonna end. There's this thing called Y2K that is going to crash all the systems in the world, and that's going to start this whole end of the world scenario. And so she was very concerned about this and believed in many things that she was reading that nowadays we would probably call conspiracy theories about government and, you know, different military things and dreams and prophecies that religious people were claiming they were having about the end of the world. And I just believed all of that. I thought that was all very real, and why wouldn't I? My mom said so. God said so. That was enough for me. So my mom really had it set in her mind that the United States was no longer going to be a safe place for us to ride out the end of the world. And she determined that we should go somewhere much more remote, live off the land, because that's how things were going to be in the future. And so we did that. We moved up to Northern BC in Smithers, and we lived behind Hudson Bay Mountain, about 45 minutes out of town from civilization. There was a property out there that had cabins on it. It was off the grid, no electricity, like just very basic. And we moved there in about 1998 and thought that would give us enough time to sort of get acclimated to this new life. And you know, we had barns full of like supplies for, you know, food and gasoline and doomsday prepper, like everything. And then nothing happened. And that sort of started a little seed of doubt in my mind about, well, what else isn't true? What else have we been wrong about? But we ended up living out there for another 2 years. Just thought maybe the apocalypse was late. And then Mom decided she wanted to go even remotely further and took us to Bella Coola for about a year. I had a really hard time being so isolated there. I wanted to move back to Smithers, so that's where we went. My mom was convinced that everything was still going to happen. It just was late. And I was starting to doubt everything because now I'm a teenager. And I'm starting to realize that maybe my mom isn't right about everything. And so, you know, I tried to get my first driver's license, my first job realize that you need like identification to do those things. And I did not have those things because my mom had not done the proper paperwork when we crossed the border. So I did not legally exist in Canada, and neither did she. And I wasn't allowed to tell anybody about it because now we were going to get in trouble. So I kept that secret for a pretty long time, and I was an undocumented person for about 13 years. And it wasn't until I moved to Prince George in 2010 that I got my first driver's license, got my first job, my first boyfriend, like a whole bunch of firsts in my early 20s. And so it was kind of a feeling of like, well, now this is fixed, now what? And so my book and my story, the prologue starts out in the woods waiting for Y2K to start, and then it jumps back to my early childhood and goes from there, and just how I that journey of learning all these things, finding out they weren't true. Now what do I do? And basically starting all over and rebuilding. So it was kind of like, again, that apocalypse theme was there of like, how do we rebuild and make a life for ourselves?
Well, especially since so much of the life of who you thought you were questioning.
Yes.
You were saying that you weren't sure about it. So trying to then redefine who you were as well, I expect, was quite a difficult journey.
Yeah. And I didn't, when you're trying to figure out how you're going to survive the end of the world, you don't really have time to make plans for the future or to figure out your identity or rebel against your parents or whatever. So I was quite delayed in all of these like typical rites of passage. And so a lot of my book is just me going through all of that and untangling it all and figuring out who am I actually and who do I want to be and how do I want to live my life now, because my mom is still alive and she still lives in that way, waiting for the world to end, and I don't want to do that. So how do I honor and respect her and have her still in my life while I'm a completely different person now? So that's the timeline of the book, goes from like 1991 to 2020. And so, and even lots of things about me have changed in those 4 years since. But like I said, maybe that's for another book.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to reading both of these books.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Okay, are we good?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much
Thank
again for coming.
you.
This was so much fun.
This was really fun.
I'm actually really excited about your book. It
Thank
sounds
you.
very interesting.
Guest, Carly Butler. Host, Sharon MacDermott. Voiceover, Christopher S. Wood. Producer, Sharon MacDermott. Directed and edited by Christopher S. Wood. Production assistant, Orrin Wood.
Meow.